Most people spend their whole lives following orders, even when no one's giving them any more. They wait to be told what to do, when to act, and how to think. But leaders don't wait, they decide. Ask yourself, are you living like a worker or thinking like a leader? A worker asks for permission. A leader creates direction. A worker fears mistakes. A leader learns from them. A worker works for money. A leader makes money work for them. This audiobook isn't about management or business. It's about mentality. It's about rewiring your mind to stop waiting for instructions and start creating your own blueprint. Because the moment you stop thinking like a worker, your whole reality shifts. You begin to lead your time, your mind, your destiny. You don't need a title to lead. You just need courage to think differently. And this is where that transformation begins, inside the leader's mindset. Chapter 1. The Shift from Obedience to Ownership. Most people are trained from birth to obey, sit still, follow instructions, don't question authority, do what you're told, and over time, that conditioning becomes a cage. You start mistaking compliance for safety, submission for peace. The worker mindset was designed to make you predictable, to make you function, not to make you free. The shift begins the day you realize obedience doesn't guarantee security. It guarantees limitation. Obedience is comfortable because it removes responsibility. Someone else decides. Someone else thinks. Someone else takes the fall. Ownership is uncomfortable because it forces you to face yourself. You can't hide behind orders anymore. You either lead your life or you lose it to those who will. Workers are trained to ask for permission. Leaders create progress through decision. The difference isn't knowledge, it's courage. Ownership begins when you stop waiting for instructions and start trusting your intuition. Leaders don't move because they're told. They move because they've chosen. When you live in obedience, your potential becomes someone else's property. You spend your life building dreams you don't own. Ownership reclaims that. It's the internal declaration that your time, energy, and effort are no longer for rent. They belong to your mission. The obedient mind fears mistakes. The owner's mind sees them as mentorship. Every failure teaches direction. Every setback builds strategy. Ownership means understanding that loss isn't punishment. It's tuition for mastery. Obedience kills initiative. It keeps you trapped in repetition, performing tasks without understanding purpose. Ownership activates creativity. When you own your work, you start asking better questions, and better questions build better results. The world rewards those who take responsibility, not those who take orders. Every breakthrough in history came from someone who disobeyed convention and owned their vision. Leaders don't seek approval. They seek alignment. Obedience is about survival. Ownership is about significance. The obedient wait for opportunity. The owner creates it. The obedient say, someone should fix this. The owner says, I will. That's how leadership begins, in small acts of self-command. You can't be both compliant and creative. One obeys systems, the other builds them. Leaders outgrow the need to be liked because they're addicted to progress, not validation. Ownership doesn't care about applause. It cares about advancement. The obedient seek comfort in routine. The owner thrives in responsibility. Ownership feels heavier at first because it demands presence. You can't coast on autopilot anymore. Every choice is yours, and that's exactly why it's powerful. The poor in mindset follow systems they never question. The rich in thought design systems that others follow. That's the essence of leadership, shifting from participation to authorship. You're not part of the story anymore. You're the one writing it. Obedience trains dependency. Ownership trains self-reliance. The worker waits for permission to begin. The leader builds momentum in silence. They understand that action is authority and hesitation is surrender. Ownership means accountability, not just for what you do, but for what you allow. You can't blame the environment, the economy, or your boss. Leaders don't play victim, they play chess. Every move is intentional. The obedient live for weekends, the owners live for purpose. When your work is aligned with your vision, time becomes irrelevant. Leaders aren't escaping labor, they're escaping meaninglessness. That's why they don't burn out, they burn brighter. Obedience ends where self-awareness begins. You can't lead what you don't understand. Ownership demands that you know your strengths, your weaknesses, and your triggers, because you can't control a world you can't control within. Most people obey because they're afraid of chaos. But leaders understand that chaos is where creativity is born. Ownership isn't about eliminating uncertainty, it's about directing it. You can't innovate from the comfort zone. Obedience says, I'll do what I'm told. Ownership says, I'll figure it out. One seeks instruction, the other seeks evolution. Every time you solve a problem without guidance, you reinforce the neural pattern of leadership. To shift from obedience to ownership, you must give yourself permission to fail in public. The obedient hide from judgment. The owner uses it as fuel. Leadership demands exposure, and exposure refines excellence. Obedience breeds fear. Ownership breeds freedom. The moment you stop asking for permission to exist, you reclaim your power to create. The transition isn't easy, but it's necessary. The cost of obedience is your potential. The reward of ownership is your legacy. And when you finally cross that line, everything changes. You stop asking what the world can give you and start asking what you can build within it. You stop surviving inside systems and start becoming the architect of your own. That's the first commandment of leadership. Own your life, or someone else will. Chapter 2. Vision over validation. The difference between a leader and a follower is focus. Followers chase approval. Leaders chase purpose. The worker's eyes are always turned outward, waiting for applause. The leader's gaze is inward, locked on vision. Validation is emotional sugar. It feels good, but it feeds weakness. Vision is nourishment. It sustains you when no one claps. Validation addicts you to permission. Every compliment becomes a leash. You start adjusting your direction based on who approves, not what's right. That's how dreams die, slowly, under the weight of other people's opinions. Leaders break that addiction. They stop performing for attention and start building for impact. You'll know you're growing when silence no longer scares you. The poor in mindset panic when no one notices them. The rich in vision work quietly, understanding that greatness is forged in obscurity. If you need validation to keep moving, you'll stop every time it disappears. And that's why most never finish what they start. A leader builds in private long before being celebrated in public. Vision doesn't require witnesses, it requires will. The world only believes in results, but you must believe before results exist. That's the curse and the privilege of leadership. Validation is seductive because it offers comfort without accountability. It feels like progress, but it's distraction. The moment you start chasing approval, you stop innovating. You dilute your vision to please the crowd, and every compromise steals a piece of your purpose. The strongest leaders walk alone because their vision walks ahead of understanding. The world calls them crazy until it calls them genius. You can't lead if you need to be liked. Greatness demands that you disappoint mediocrity. The worker wants recognition, the leader wants realization. Recognition is a photo, temporary, fragile, staged. Realization is a foundation, solid, silent, unshakable. When you build with vision, you don't need people to see you. You need people to feel what you've built. Validation is borrowed confidence. Vision is earned conviction. The poor seek reassurance to move. The rich move to earn reassurance from reality. The moment you stop asking, do they believe in me? And start asking, do I believe in me? Leadership begins. Leaders understand that criticism is a side effect of visibility. The moment you step forward, you become a mirror for others' insecurities. The weak hide from judgment, the strong expect it. Vision filters noise, because purpose doesn't argue with opinions. Every great vision will offend someone. That's proof it's original. The crowd doesn't fear your dream. It fears what your dream exposes, their lack of one. Don't shrink your idea to make others comfortable. The more they misunderstand you, the closer you are to something powerful. The poor change direction to chase applause. The rich hold direction until applause catches up. Momentum isn't built through validation. It's built through consistency. Your focus must outlast their attention span. You can't serve two masters, vision and validation. One demands faith, the other demands compromise. The moment you prioritize being accepted over being authentic, you forfeit leadership for performance. You become an actor in someone else's play. Leaders are obsessed with the long game. They understand that validation expires faster than vision compounds. What's mocked today will be modeled tomorrow, but only if you stay disciplined when no one understands you. The world respects results, not reasons. While others explain why they couldn't, you'll be showing what you did. Vision doesn't ask for belief. It demands execution. Stop explaining. Build something undeniable. Validation is external feedback. Vision is internal compass. Feedback can guide, but it must never dictate. Listen to understand, not to obey. A true leader takes advice without losing authority over direction. Most people fail because they need to be seen starting instead of staying until the end. The leader doesn't announce progress, they deliver it. You don't need to post every step, you need to take them. Silence is the most powerful marketing tool of mastery. When your vision becomes strong enough, it will start validating itself. Progress will replace praise. Every win, every quiet milestone becomes proof that you no longer need permission to move forward. The poor fear rejection because they confuse it with failure. The rich embrace rejection as redirection. Every no is evidence that you're ahead of someone's understanding. If they can't see your vision, it's not your job to shrink it. It's your job to sharpen it. Vision is ownership of destiny. Validation is renting approval. The world belongs to those who trust their ideas longer than others doubt them. Don't chase applause. Build something that forces it. The crowd always arrives late to conviction. And one day, when your results speak louder than your explanations, you'll realize validation was never the reward. Growth was. You didn't need them to believe in you. You needed to prove that you could believe in yourself long enough for the world to follow. Chapter 3. Discipline creates authority. Authority doesn't come from a title. It comes from consistency. The world doesn't follow the loudest voice. It follows the most reliable one. Discipline is how you prove reliability to yourself first and then to others. You can talk like a leader all you want, but until your habits align with your words, no one listens. Consistency is louder than charisma. Most people want power without structure. They crave freedom but reject responsibility. The truth is, discipline is freedom. When you control yourself, you stop being controlled by circumstances. Every disciplined decision is a declaration that your emotions don't run your life. Your principles do. A leader's authority is built in silence. It's the invisible reputation earned from doing what others quit doing. While the worker looks for shortcuts, the leader builds stamina. Power doesn't come from passion. It comes from persistence. Discipline is passion sustained. Discipline makes you predictable in the best way. It tells the world you can be trusted, not because you say so, but because you've proven it daily. You show up when it rains, when you're tired, when motivation dies. The undisciplined disappear when it's hard. The leader gets sharper in the storm. You can't command others until you can command yourself. Leadership starts internally. The poor try to control outcomes. The rich control inputs, effort, focus, consistency. The more disciplined your inner world, the more stable your outer influence. Every failure in leadership is rooted in inconsistency. Vision fades, trust dies, and authority dissolves the moment you stop living by your own standards. Discipline is the guardrail that protects your credibility. You can rebuild money, not reputation. Motivation is temporary adrenaline. Discipline is structural identity. The poor rely on inspiration to move. The rich move because it's who they are. Once discipline becomes identity, effort disappears. Action becomes automatic. Discipline sharpens clarity. The more structured your habits, the less space you give to doubt. You know exactly what to do, when to do it, and why it matters. Chaos can't survive in an environment of order. The leader's routine is their armor. Most people fail because they want intensity, not consistency. They sprint in enthusiasm but crawl in routine. The disciplined win because they don't depend on feeling ready. They depend on showing up. That's what creates trust, both in others and in yourself. The worker follows schedules made by others. The leader creates rituals that build results. Discipline turns your calendar into a strategy. You don't manage time, you command it. And when you command time, you command outcomes. The poor call discipline boring. The wise call it peace. When your life has rhythm, anxiety disappears. You don't need to chase balance, you build it. Predictability is power in disguise. Discipline separates leaders from talkers. The talkers dream, the leaders document. They measure, review, and refine. Discipline turns hope into history because you've tracked your progress instead of trusting memory. Every great leader you admire built authority through invisible effort. The speeches, the success, the recognition, all of it sits on years of private discipline. You can't fake repetition. The grind always tells the truth. Discipline builds mental immunity. The more structured your routine, the less you react to noise. Distractions lose power when your focus is non-negotiable. The undisciplined live by impulse. The disciplined live by intention. You'll never outtalk someone who outworks you. Words inspire, but consistency convinces. The poor argue to prove worth. The rich act to prove results. Discipline doesn't defend itself. It demonstrates. Leaders understand that fatigue is part of mastery. The poor quit when tired. The rich rest with purpose. Discipline doesn't deny exhaustion. It respects recovery. True authority is balance, pushing hard, resting smart, and repeating endlessly. Discipline isn't perfection, it's alignment. You'll fail, miss days, break streaks, but you'll return faster than before. The comeback speed is what defines authority. Consistency isn't about never falling, it's about never staying down. Every disciplined act rewires your mind for leadership. You stop chasing instant gratification because you've tasted long-term fulfillment. The dopamine of discipline lasts longer than the pleasure of distraction. That's how leaders stay hungry and grounded. Discipline doesn't restrict creativity, it refines it. The structure you build around your chaos turns potential into performance. Without rules, energy scatters. With rules, it multiplies. Freedom without form is failure. Authority isn't about control, it's about credibility. People follow those who follow through. The day you keep your word to yourself is the day the world starts keeping its word to you. Discipline isn't a trait, it's proof. It's leadership made visible. Chapter 4. Learn to think strategically, not emotionally. Most people live as emotional reactors, not strategic thinkers. They move when they feel good and freeze when they don't. Leaders are the opposite. They move based on principle, not mood. Strategy is intelligence in motion. Emotion is impulse, pretending to be truth. The moment you learn to pause before reacting, you begin leading instead of surviving. Emotions are natural, but direction must be intentional. The worker lets emotion dictate reaction. The leader uses emotion as data. Every feeling is information, not instruction. You don't ignore it, you interpret it. That's how clarity begins. Strategic thinking is pattern recognition. It's the art of stepping back to see connections others miss. The poor make moves, the rich make plans. Leaders delay judgment long enough to collect perspective. They think twice and act once, while everyone else acts twice and thinks none. Emotion is loud but temporary. Strategy is quiet but lasting. The worker reacts to the moment. The leader anticipates the pattern. The more emotional your response, the easier you are to manipulate. The more strategic your mindset, the harder you are to predict. The emotional mind wants control now. The strategic mind builds control through patience. Every impulsive decision is expensive. Every strategic delay compounds value. Great leaders don't move fast, they move intentionally. Thinking strategically means detaching from instant gratification. You stop asking, what feels good today, and start asking, what builds power tomorrow. The worker chases excitement. The leader engineers outcomes. Pleasure is temporary. Leverage is permanent. Emotion makes you reactive. Strategy makes you proactive. The worker fights fires. The leader prevents them. Every minute spent planning saves hours spent panicking. Chaos always exposes the emotional and rewards the prepared. To think strategically, you must kill the addiction to drama. Emotion craves intensity. Strategy craves efficiency. The emotional mind loves conflict because it feels alive. The strategic mind loves calm because it's productive. Control your environment, and you control your execution. Strategic thinkers master neutrality. They don't over-celebrate wins or overreact to losses. Both are data points, not destiny. The poor swing between pride and panic. The rich stay centered. Balance is their secret weapon. Emotion feeds on ego. Strategy feeds on evidence. The poor make decisions to protect pride. The rich make decisions to protect position. Detach from being right. Focus on getting it right. The world doesn't reward emotion. It rewards execution. Emotion makes you take everything personally. Strategy keeps it professional. Leaders don't argue with insult. They study it for insight. Every criticism carries information if your ego doesn't block reception. To lead with intelligence, you must master emotional timing. The poor respond instantly. The rich respond intentionally. Every pause you take adds accuracy to your actions. The space between reaction and response is where leadership is born. Strategic thinkers never move from anger or fear, only from clarity. The poor fight to release pressure. The rich plan to release potential. They convert every emotional surge into structured motion. That's how they turn chaos into advantage. Emotion asks, what do I want right now? Strategy asks, what does the mission need next? The first builds satisfaction. The second builds legacy. Leaders trade feelings for foresight. That's why they win when others whine. Strategy is chess. Emotion is checkers. The poor move to relieve tension. The rich move to increase position. Every great leader is patient enough to think 3 steps ahead and humble enough to adjust mid-game. To think strategically, you must measure, not assume. Emotion trusts memory. Strategy trusts metrics. The poor say, I feel like I'm progressing. The rich track progress. Numbers don't lie. Emotions do. The emotional mind blames. The strategic mind adapts. When something fails, the poor find excuses. The rich find adjustments. They don't waste energy on guilt. They spend it on refinement. Leaders study outcomes, not outbursts. They analyze patterns after every decision. Every failure becomes feedback. Every success becomes a system. Strategy grows stronger through reflection. Emotion just repeats reaction. Emotion demands attention. Strategy demands intention. The poor chase validation. The rich chase vision. The more detached you become from needing to feel good, the more capable you become of building something great. Thinking strategically means seeing time differently. The poor think in hours. The rich think in horizons. Every move today is judged by how it positions tomorrow. Emotion lives in moments. Strategy lives in maps. The emotional mind obsesses over people. The strategic mind focuses on process. Leaders don't take betrayal personally. They document patterns. Once you understand behavior, you stop being surprised by it. To build power, you must master delayed reaction. The poor rush to prove points. The rich wait to make impact. Silence is often the strongest statement, especially when it's deliberate. Emotion builds enemies. Strategy builds empires. You can't grow while you're busy reacting to everything that offends you. Leaders pick battles based on benefit, not emotion. Every war must serve the mission, not the ego. Strategic thinking turns chaos into chess. Every problem becomes a probability, not a panic. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "How can I use this?" The poor resist reality. The rich rearrange it. Emotion spends energy. Strategy stores it. The poor burn out because they fight every battle. The rich conserve energy for battles that matter. Wisdom isn't knowing what to do. It's knowing what not to waste energy on. You'll never master strategy without mastering solitude. Emotion needs noise. Strategy needs silence. The leader's clarity grows in quiet spaces, where there's room to think, plan, and see the whole board. Strategic minds don't react to opinion polls. They react to data. They understand that perception is temporary, but structure is eternal. You can manipulate attention, but not results. The rich stay focused on what compounds. Emotion says, "I deserve more." Strategy says, "I'll design more." The poor demand fairness. The rich demand growth. The moment you stop negotiating with emotion, you start negotiating with results. Strategic patience is not waiting. It's building quietly while others watch loudly. The poor crave instant payoff. The rich invest in invisible compounding. Their silence is strategy, not hesitation. Emotion exaggerates problems. Strategy measures proportions. The poor say, "Everything's falling apart." The rich ask, "What's the actual percentage of loss?" Logic dismantles panic. Strategic thinkers predict patterns of human nature. They study behavior, incentives, and emotions, not to manipulate, but to navigate. Once you understand what drives people, you stop being driven by them. Emotion creates noise in your thinking. Strategy creates signal. Leaders don't waste energy reacting to chaos. They refine the system that prevents it. Every breakdown reveals where structure is missing. The emotional thinker wants to be heard. The strategic thinker wants to be effective. The poor argue to win conversations. The rich build to win decades. You can't lead both egos and outcomes. Choose one. Emotion thrives on drama. Strategy thrives on design. The poor are addicted to reaction. The rich are addicted to refinement. Leaders are engineers of outcomes, not victims of events. To think strategically, build distance between thought and reaction. The longer that gap, the stronger your decision. Emotion collapses time. Strategy expands it. Leaders slow down mentally to move faster, physically. Strategic thinking requires self-control under chaos. The poor panic when plans fail. The rich re-strategize instantly. They never confuse adjustment with defeat. Every pivot is proof of awareness. Emotion is instinct. Strategy is intelligence. The poor let instinct lead. The rich let instinct inform. A mature leader doesn't erase emotion. They upgrade it into insight. The emotional live in reaction. The strategic live in design. One is constantly surprised by life. The other constantly shaping it. You can't master your world until you master your mind. And when you finally learn to think strategically, not emotionally, you stop fighting for control because you already have it. You become calm in crisis, precise in decision, and unstoppable in progress. That's when leadership evolves from reaction to creation. Chapter 5. Speak less, move more. The weak talk to be seen, the strong act to be remembered. Words are cheap. Movement costs energy. Most people waste years explaining their plans, defending their intentions, and waiting for applause that never comes. The leader stays silent and builds. Talking feels like progress, but it's only a substitute for action. Movement is the only language reality understands. Silence protects energy. The more you speak, the more you leak. The undisciplined reveal their ideas too early, seeking validation instead of execution. The rich understand that every vision spoken prematurely is power divided. Your silence is your leverage. Build in private until your results are loud enough to speak for you. The worker wants to be understood. The leader wants to be effective. When you're obsessed with proving your plan, you lose momentum. Every sentence you explain is a second you could have spent creating proof. Stop selling your potential. Demonstrate it. Results are the only argument that wins. The world is filled with talkers who never start and starters who never finish. The leader lives in the rare middle, quiet, consistent, deliberate. Every day they trade noise for movement. They don't post about discipline, they practice it. They don't promise growth, they produce it. Action makes you credible. Every time you move, you separate yourself from those waiting for confidence. The poor seek the right mood before acting. The rich act before feeling ready. Discipline doesn't need motivation. It manufactures it. Motion builds clarity. Words only build illusion. You'll notice this truth early in leadership. Those who talk the most achieve the least. They exhaust themselves trying to sound successful instead of becoming successful. A leader doesn't advertise grind. They embody it. Talking feeds ego. Working feeds momentum. The worker uses language to impress. The leader uses silence to assess. Talking too much reveals weakness, insecurity disguised as passion. The quiet builder listens more, studies more, and moves with precision. The less they say, the sharper they become. Movement builds magnetism. People are drawn to results, not rhetoric. You don't attract by convincing. You attract by constructing. The most powerful presence in any room is the one who doesn't need to prove anything. Silence backed by consistency is terrifying to the lazy. Most people over-explain because they secretly doubt themselves. They seek approval as permission. Leaders don't ask for permission. They create confirmation through results. Every move you make without explanation builds authority no speech ever could. Talking satisfies the emotional need to feel in control. Movement satisfies the actual requirement to be in control. The more you talk, the less you act. The more you move, the less you need to talk. Action is the currency of leadership. Words are only the receipts. The poor announce goals. The rich announce results. The moment you declare something, you trigger your brain's reward system prematurely. You feel like you've already achieved it and stop pushing. The disciplined stay quiet, hungry, and focused until it's done. When you move in silence, you stop chasing credit. The world becomes your audience, not your approval system. Leaders don't argue their vision, they prove it through motion. Talking invites opinion. Movement demands observation. To speak less is to see more. When you stop filling silence with noise, you start noticing patterns. You hear what others miss. You observe human behavior, timing, and opportunity. Strategy thrives in quiet minds. The worker reacts to everything. The leader responds to nothing that isn't useful. Talking drags you into emotional energy exchanges. Silence preserves your clarity. Energy wasted on gossip is energy stolen from greatness. Leaders understand that communication without execution is manipulation of self and others. You can't inspire what you don't embody. People follow what you do, not what you declare. Your silence will speak longer than any speech. Most people's biggest enemy isn't laziness, it's leakage. They spill momentum through constant talking, venting, and complaining. The more you explain, the more you drain. The rich don't discuss problems, they design solutions. Movement reveals commitment faster than language ever can. Anyone can sound confident. Few can stay consistent. You can fake words, but you can't fake repetition. Leaders let time do the talking. The loudest in the room are usually the least certain. The leader's calm is mistaken for mystery, but it's actually control. They don't rush to fill silence because they've already filled their purpose. Stillness intimidates those addicted to noise. To move more means mastering small execution. Massive plans mean nothing without daily action. The worker talks in years, the leader works in hours. Every small win compounds. Progress is the quietest revolution. Talking gives relief, moving gives release. One satisfies ego, the other satisfies destiny. Leaders don't relieve pressure with conversation, they convert it into motion. Every second spent speaking about the goal delays its reality. A true leader knows momentum is fragile. Too much talking kills its chemistry. Once you share everything, you drain the charge that drives you. Keep the tension alive. Let your work be the reveal. Mystery multiplies focus. The poor seek recognition early. The rich delay it strategically. Silence allows leverage to build. By the time people notice, you're already untouchable. The strongest moves are made unseen. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your grind. Those who don't understand your silence aren't ready for your results. Let them guess. Let them talk. While they discuss, you develop. Words are rehearsed. Actions are irreversible. Talking feels safe because it costs nothing. Movement risks failure, and that's why it's rare. Every time you act, you gamble reputation for reality. That's where power lives. Speaking less trains emotional control. It keeps you from reacting to provocation or praise. The worker needs noise to feel relevant. The leader thrives in invisibility because visibility without stability is a trap. The more you move, the more you outgrow conversations. You stop debating people who aren't even playing your game. When your vision grows, your vocabulary shrinks. Excellence doesn't argue, it demonstrates. Every unfinished dream died in a room full of talk. Talking tricks the brain into satisfaction. Execution humbles it. The disciplined stay uncomfortable until it's complete. They use silence as pressure, not pause. The poor use words to seek validation. The rich use silence to build valuation. Talking about an idea doesn't increase its worth. Working on it does. Execution is the only advertisement that never expires. Movement builds confidence. Every step creates data. The more you act, the smarter your next decision becomes. Talking gives illusion. Action gives information. Progress is the cure for self-doubt. Speak less, not because words are bad, but because energy is finite. Every word must earn its cost. Talk like an investor. Only spend language where it multiplies impact. Silence sharpens intuition. When you stop over-explaining, you start listening to what your instincts already know. The poor drown in advice. The rich trust observation. Stillness teaches more than any conversation could. Leaders act without announcing because they understand power hates prediction. The less people know your next move, the harder you are to stop. Predictability is weakness. Surprise is strategy. The worker speaks to impress. The leader speaks to instruct. Every word must serve purpose. Empty noise builds followers. Precise words build leaders. Speech is a weapon, and restraint is its mastery. Every hour you talk about the plan is an hour you could have been executing it. The poor plan loudly, the rich produce quietly. Discipline isn't exciting, it's effective. Noise attracts attention, silence attracts results. Talking feeds the illusion of control. Action builds actual control. The worker needs to feel busy, the leader needs to be effective. Speak when it builds structure. Stay silent when it doesn't. The wise move strategically, not sporadically. They don't rush. They don't announce. Every step is layered with purpose. That's why leaders seem lucky, because every move was calculated long before anyone saw it. To move more is to trust momentum. Once you start, don't stop to narrate the journey. People will see soon enough. The loud quit first because noise drains endurance. Silence builds stamina. The poor chase validation for motion. The rich chase velocity through silence. When no one knows what you're building, no one can sabotage it. Privacy is protection. Secrecy is survival. Leadership is action disguised as humility. The leader doesn't need recognition. They need results. They know one truth the world keeps forgetting. Talk feeds the ego. Movement feeds the empire. And when the results arrive, you'll realize why you stayed quiet. Because power doesn't announce, it reveals. Speak less. Move more. Let the world talk about what you built while you're already building the next thing. Chapter 6. Turn pressure into power. Pressure isn't your enemy. It's your invitation. It's the universe asking, are you ready to hold more? Most people run from pressure because they mistake it for punishment. But leaders know it's preparation. Pressure doesn't break the strong. It exposes the untrained. What you call stress, the disciplined call strengthening. The worker complains about weight. The leader builds capacity. Pressure doesn't crush you unless you resist it. The moment you stop fighting it, you learn to channel it. Diamonds aren't born from comfort. They're born from compression. Growth has always demanded gravity. When you feel overwhelmed, it's not because you're weak, it's because you're expanding. The mind grows in friction. Every difficult moment forces clarity. Every test introduces the next version of you. Pressure isn't chaos. It's creation in motion. Most people waste pressure by panicking. They treat adversity as an emergency instead of an evolution. Leaders pause. They breathe. They study the weight before they lift it. Every obstacle becomes information for strategy, not ammunition for fear. Pressure is a privilege, proof that you're trusted with responsibility. The poor see it as burden, the rich see it as training. You can't pray for growth and reject the weight that builds it. Leadership means carrying what others drop. The worker seeks comfort, the leader seeks compression. The more pressure you face, the more potential you access. Every demanding task builds endurance. Every sleepless night for purpose strengthens the armor of your focus. Stress, when trained, becomes stamina. Pressure doesn't destroy character, it reveals it. The moment life tightens its grip, you see who you really are. The poor blame the weight, the rich adjust their stance. Leaders use adversity as feedback. Every challenge whispers, refine, don't retreat. You can't grow thicker skin without friction. Pressure makes you resourceful. It forces creativity, precision, and control. Comfort dulls instincts. Challenge sharpens them. The leader doesn't ask for easier problems. They demand better strength. The poor freeze under pressure because they fear judgment. The rich perform under pressure because they've practiced chaos. Every high-level player trains stress tolerance like a skill. The more you expose yourself to discomfort, the calmer you become under fire. Pressure is focus amplified. It filters distraction and forces clarity. When the stakes rise, so does precision. The leader doesn't crumble. They compress chaos into direction. They understand that intensity isn't the enemy. Indiscipline is. Pressure turns leaders into thinkers and talkers into ghosts. The worker panics. The leader plans. In the storm, they don't shout. They structure. Crisis reveals competency. The louder someone becomes under stress, the less control they have within. The poor break because they expect ease. The rich endure because they expect difficulty. Anticipation changes endurance. When you expect resistance, you stop being surprised by it, and surprise is what destroys the unprepared. Pressure creates perspective. When everything feels heavy, you start identifying what truly matters. Leaders stop wasting time on trivia during crisis. Pressure purifies priorities. It deletes what's irrelevant. The disciplined see stress as feedback. Pressure doesn't say you can't handle it. It says you're handling it wrong. Adjust process, not purpose. The poor retreat emotionally. The leader refines logically. Every problem is a mirror reflecting skill gaps. To turn pressure into power, you must stop dramatizing difficulty. The poor make pressure personal. Why me? The rich make it practical. What now? One reacts emotionally. The other responds strategically. Pressure multiplies potential only when directed. Unfocused stress becomes burnout. Focused stress becomes growth. The leader channels intensity into intentional output. Pressure isn't meant to crush, it's meant to concentrate. Every challenge comes with a choice, panic or precision. The poor react, the rich recalibrate. Pressure isn't pain, it's performance data. Leaders analyze their breaking points to expand them. Most people underestimate how much they can endure because they've never been tested consistently. Every repetition under stress expands tolerance. That's why leaders seem calm under crisis. They've already trained chaos privately. Pressure separates the talkers from the builders. It doesn't care about your goals, speeches, or affirmations. It only cares about your preparation. When everything's collapsing, consistency becomes command. The poor use pressure as an excuse. The rich use it as evidence. They say, if I'm being challenged this much, it means I'm leveling up. Growth never arrives dressed as peace. It always arrives disguised as pain. Pressure and leadership are inseparable. You can't carry people, projects, or principles without learning to breathe under weight. The worker breaks under demand. The leader builds under demand. They know every ounce of strain is sculpting strength. You build resilience the same way you build muscle, through repetition. Every exposure to discomfort hardens discipline. Every test survived adds trust in your own durability. Confidence isn't built through success, it's built through survival. The rich see pressure as feedback from progress. If life feels easy, they know they've stopped growing. Comfort is a signal of decline. Pressure means you're still climbing, still chosen for more. To turn pressure into power, you must practice detachment. Don't personalize the process. Life isn't against you. It's upgrading you. Every difficult moment is instruction disguised as interruption. The worker under pressure complains, the leader calibrates. They ask, what is this teaching me about endurance, systems, or emotion? Pressure exposes inefficiencies. Fix those, and every future challenge becomes easier. Pressure makes you humble. It reminds you that control is earned, not assumed. The rich don't pretend to be invincible. They prepare to be unbreakable. Vulnerability becomes a strategy, not a weakness. The poor see pressure as proof they're failing. The rich see it as proof they're chosen. Life only pushes those capable of carrying potential. When pressure shows up, it's because power is trying to find a home. Most people pray for opportunity, but panic when it arrives disguised as responsibility. Pressure is opportunity wearing weight. The leader doesn't reject it, they reframe it. The greater the load, the greater the level. Pressure trains emotional precision. You learn to control breath, tone, and timing. You stop reacting to chaos and start directing it. Calmness under crisis isn't a gift. It's the result of repetition. When pressure feels unbearable, remember this. What breaks you isn't the load, it's how you carry it. The poor fight the gravity, the rich adjust the grip. Shift your form, not your faith. CE means the absence of pressure. True peace is internal composure in the middle of it. Leaders stop chasing easy seasons and start mastering intense ones. Ease doesn't make you great, endurance does. Pressure teaches leadership more than praise ever will. Compliments make you comfortable. Pressure makes you capable. Every season of stress is shaping your psychology for responsibility. The rich transmute pressure into precision. Every setback becomes an equation. They measure what broke, redesign the process, and come back sharper. Pressure becomes a laboratory for greatness. The worker avoids confrontation with problems. The leader dissects them. Fear of pressure keeps most people mediocre. Every problem avoided grows teeth. Face it early, and you stay ahead forever. Pressure compresses time. It forces efficiency. The poor delay decisions. The rich decide under fire. That's why leaders rise in crisis. They make progress when others make excuses. Under pressure, silence becomes strength. The poor panic publicly. The rich process privately. Pressure reveals posture. If you can breathe in chaos, you can lead anywhere. Every time you endure pressure without breaking, you become magnetic. People follow those who stay calm when the world burns. That's authority earned through emotional mastery. The worker prays for relief. The leader prays for resilience. Pressure isn't something to escape. It's something to evolve through. The day you stop fearing it is the day you start commanding it. You'll know you've turned pressure into power when the same problems that once terrified you now excite you. Growth flips fear into fuel. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "Try me." Because the truth is this, pressure was never punishment, it was proof. Proof that you're being shaped for something larger than comfort. The world doesn't reward the relieved, it rewards the resilient. Turn the weight into weaponry, and nothing will ever crush you again. Pressure isn't meant to make you panic. It's meant to teach you control. It's the gym where your resilience trains daily. You don't get stronger by lifting light. You get stronger by lifting what once broke you. The harder the test, the more valuable the transformation. That's why leaders don't resent heavy seasons, they respect them. The poor associate pressure with suffering, the rich associate it with sharpening. Every challenge is a file against your ego, scraping away weakness and shaping precision. You don't rise through luck, you rise through layers of pressure that forced your evolution. There's a sacred silence that comes when you finally stop fearing pressure. You begin to move differently. You stop complaining, start calculating. You stop reacting, start responding. Pressure no longer feels like chaos. It feels like calibration. When you learn to breathe inside the storm stops owning you. You become the eye of it. Still, composed, strategic. That's when you realize pressure never had the power. Your reaction did. And mastery begins when you control that reaction. Pressure transforms pain into presence. Every moment you hold your ground under tension, your awareness sharpens. You see through noise, through panic, through lies. The leader finds clarity not in comfort, but in compression. The worker says, "This is too much." The leader says, "This is building me." That simple shift changes everything. Pressure is perception. Once you label it differently, you stop shrinking from it and start shaping through it. The rich train themselves to stay calm under chaos. They seek controlled discomfort. Cold showers, tight deadlines, risky calls, not for thrill, but for control. The goal isn't to avoid pressure, it's to adapt so deeply that pressure feels like focus. When pressure hits, most people rush to escape it. The leader expands inside it. Escape weakens, endurance strengthens. You can't avoid the weight and expect to grow stronger. You must stay inside it until it becomes effortless. You'll notice something magical once you endure long enough. Pressure begins to serve you. It pushes you into focus, strips away distraction, and exposes what's unnecessary. That's the alchemy of mastery, turning stress into structure. Pressure rewards the patient. The worker collapses under speed. The leader paces through chaos. You can't force pressure. You align with it. You learn its rhythm, breathe through it, and move strategically inside it. The secret is this. Pressure doesn't break you when you stop trying to resist it. Resistance wastes energy. Rhythm multiplies it. When you align with intensity, it becomes momentum. That's how great builders grow faster under stress. They merge with it. Pressure is language, not punishment. It's life saying, you're being upgraded. Most people translate it as threat and run. Leaders translate it as training and rise. Every difficult moment carries instructions written in friction. Under pressure, excuses evaporate. You can't fake focus when everything is at stake. That's why the strong love the storm. It separates them from the shallow. When it's hard to breathe, authenticity becomes automatic. Pressure teaches the art of emotional compression. The poor explode under heat. The rich condense it into action. Anger turns into drive. Fear turns into focus. Pain turns into purpose. Nothing is wasted. Everything is weaponized. To endure pressure, you must stop asking for understanding. Most people won't get your struggle. It's not their weight to carry. You don't owe explanation. You owe execution. Greatness grows in private, where the noise can't distract the growth. Pressure breaks the uncommitted. It exposes fake ambition and inflated confidence. The talkers vanish when reality squeezes them. The leader survives because their foundation wasn't built on feelings. It was built on faith and repetition. You can't fear failure and master pressure. Both are connected. Pressure demands risk. It asks you to step without guarantees. The more comfortable you become with uncertainty, the stronger your control becomes. The rich embrace pressure like an athlete embraces gravity. They don't run from the weight, they use it for form. Without resistance, motion becomes sloppy. Without pressure, progress becomes meaningless. The worker says, "Why is this happening to me?" The leader says, "What is this teaching me?" One resists, the other rewires. That's how power shifts, not by removing the challenge, but by reinterpreting it. Pressure doesn't just test endurance, it tests vision. If you can still see your purpose clearly through stress, you're evolving. If you lose focus the moment it hurts, you're still emotional, not strategic. Leaders keep sight, even through smoke. Every empire was built under pressure. Every visionary faced resistance that could have broken them. The difference is, they didn't confuse pain with failure. They understood pain is proof of progress. No weight means no growth. The poor pray for peace, the rich pray for precision. They'd rather face controlled chaos than empty comfort. Pressure keeps them awake, aware, and sharp. Comfort breeds softness, pressure breeds legacy. When you learn to love pressure, you become unstoppable. Nothing scares you anymore because you've survived worse. You stop chasing easy paths and start chasing meaningful ones. The world bows to those who remain calm when it shakes. Pressure builds mental architecture. It upgrades your thinking, your patterns, your planning. Every difficulty teaches logistics, endurance, and emotional discipline. The leader emerges forged, not found. To master pressure, train your breath first. It's the bridge between chaos and control. When panic rises, Slow your inhale, deepen your exhale. The body informs the mind. Calm physiology creates sharp psychology. The poor let pressure define identity. I'm stressed. The rich define behavior. I'm being refined. One personalizes pain, the other professionalizes it. Leaders treat every challenge like curriculum, not condemnation. Every person who ever inspired the world was shaped in pressure's fire. The noise of failure, the silence of isolation, the grind of consistency, all of it forged conviction. Leadership isn't born in light, it's hammered in heat. When pressure peaks, trust your training. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your preparation. That's why daily discipline matters. It builds reflexes that save you when your mind falters. The leader never blames the weight. They adjust, adapt, evolve. The worker collapses under expectations. The leader uses them as targets. Pressure is only heavy for those who never built capacity. And when you finally learn to turn pressure into power, you stop fearing hard seasons. You start hunting them. Because you know now, every wave of pressure carries an opportunity that the untrained will never touch. Pressure, in its rawest form, is transformation disguised as tension. You'll notice, the more pressure you endure, the more peace you gain. Why? Because chaos no longer controls you. You've learned its rhythm. Master pressure, and you master peace. The rich never complain about difficulty. They convert it. They see opportunity where others see overload. Pressure is simply potential in disguise, if you can hold it long enough to extract the lesson. Every bit of discomfort you survive becomes leverage. It's stored strength, invisible equity. One day, that tolerance will become your competitive advantage. Pain compounds like profit when managed wisely. You'll find your truest confidence not in easy victories, but in hard recoveries. Every comeback under pressure resets your belief system. Once you've rebuilt yourself in the storm, you stop fearing rain forever. Pressure will always be uncomfortable. That's its point. You're meant to stretch, not settle. The more you expand under it, the more capacity you gain. Comfort is the enemy of expansion. Leadership means holding pressure for others without showing cracks. It's staying composed when everyone else collapses. That steadiness is earned, not inherited. The world trusts the one who remains calm in crisis. Pressure never leaves your life. It just changes form. Each level brings a heavier load, but by then you've built heavier armor. The goal isn't a life without weight. It's a life where weight no longer wins. You don't pray for the end of pressure. You pray for the strength to keep moving under it. That's mastery, the ability to operate with clarity while the world burns around you. Pressure can destroy or define you. The outcome depends on whether you resist or redirect it. Turn it into purpose, and it becomes propulsion. Turn it into fear, and it becomes paralysis. The choice is yours every time. And when you finally stop seeing pressure as pain, you'll recognize what it always was, the universe training you for the weight of greatness. Don't run from it. Rise through it. That's how kings are made. Chapter 7. Build people, don't command them. Leadership isn't about control, it's about construction. You don't build power by barking orders, you build it by building others. True authority isn't measured by how many obey you, but by how many rise because of you. When you develop others, you multiply yourself. When you dominate them, you divide your reach. The worker commands, the leader cultivates. The worker demands performance. The leader designs environments where performance thrives naturally. Power that needs to shout is weak. Real influence is quiet. It's felt, not forced. People don't follow authority forever. They follow alignment. When your vision gives them purpose, they'll walk with you through fire. The emotional leader seeks loyalty through fear. The wise one earns it through empowerment. Building people requires humility. It means accepting that your job isn't to be the hero, but the builder of heroes. Every great empire collapses when its leader refuses to raise successors. If your presence is the only thing holding the system together, you've failed as a leader. A real leader listens before leading. They observe strengths, patterns, and pain points. They don't issue commands blindly. They craft direction based on understanding. Listening is the most underrated form of leadership intelligence. The worker measures power by control. The leader measures it by capacity. The goal isn't to have people who depend on you. It's to have people who can function without you. Freedom in your team means leverage for your vision. When you empower others, you're not giving away power. You're generating it. The insecure hoard control and suffocate progress. The confident delegate control and multiply success. Weak leaders demand obedience. Strong leaders develop ownership. You build people by challenging them, not coddling them. Comfort doesn't create growth. Responsibility does. Give your team real problems to solve and watch their confidence evolve into competence. The poor leader commands compliance. The rich leader commands belief. One gets results through fear. The other creates culture through trust. When people believe in your mission, they'll do more than what's required. They'll protect the vision like it's their own. To build people, you must see potential before performance. Leadership is prophetic. It's about seeing who someone could be, not just who they are. Your belief in them is often the bridge they need to cross their own doubt. You can't build people while seeking validation from them. Leadership means being misunderstood, questioned, and sometimes even resented, and still leading anyway. You're not here to be liked, you're here to lift. When you build others, you build legacy. Money fades, fame dies, systems evolve, but people carry your impact forward. True wealth is measured in minds shaped and lives changed, not just profits made. The worker sees people as resources. The leader sees them as investments. You don't extract value, you develop it. The more you pour into your people, the more sustainable your growth becomes. A real leader knows when to step back, control everything, and you'll kill initiative. Empower ownership, and you'll watch innovation flourish. Leadership is less about managing and more about mentoring. Commanding breeds fear, building breeds loyalty. Fear fades the moment pressure lifts, but belief endures. It anchors people even when you're not present. Build believers, not servants. People don't need constant instruction. They need inspiration and structure. Give them clarity of vision, space to operate, and trust to deliver. Micromanagement is the death of leadership. You'll know you're leading right when your people no longer ask, "What should I do?" but instead say, "Here's what I'm doing." Independence is the highest compliment to a leader's influence. Building people is slow work. It demands patience, empathy, and relentless example. You can't teach what you don't live. Your discipline must be louder than your directions. A leader's greatest power is belief. When you show faith in someone before they've proven themselves, you give them permission to rise. Most people never grow because no one ever looked at them and said, "You can." Your legacy isn't what you build, it's who you build. Systems fade, souls last. Every person you empower carries a piece of your leadership forward. That's immortality disguised as mentorship. You don't build people through praise alone, you build them through pressure too. Give them responsibility beyond their comfort zone. That's where real potential awakens. Leaders stretch, not shelter. The insecure leader wants followers. The powerful leader wants future leaders. Followers make you famous. Leaders make you timeless. Raise people who can replace you. That's when you know you've truly led. Leadership isn't about proving superiority. It's about pulling others into strength. You don't rise above people. You rise with them. The higher you climb, the more people you should lift. Building others means seeing progress through their success, not just yours. The poor leader needs to be the best. The great leader builds the best. Insecure leaders compete with their own team. Confident ones celebrate them. Correction is part of construction. Don't fear confrontation. Fear stagnation. A builder doesn't hit walls out of anger, but shapes them with precision. Feedback isn't criticism, it's contribution. To build others, model emotional control. Your team mirrors your temperament. If you break under stress, they'll crumble. Calm leaders build calm teams. Emotional mastery is the foundation of collective excellence. Praise publicly, correct privately. That's leadership etiquette. Public humiliation kills morale. Private accountability builds trust. Always protect dignity, even when addressing discipline. When you build people correctly, they stop needing motivation. They start generating it. Ownership turns workers into warriors. They stop showing up for paychecks and start showing up for purpose. You can't fake genuine care. People feel it. They may not say it, but they know when leadership is transactional. The richest environments are built on respect, not hierarchy. When people trust your intent, they'll forgive your mistakes. Perfection doesn't inspire, integrity does. Consistency in truth builds more loyalty than charisma ever could. Leaders who build others understand one truth. Authority is temporary, but influence is eternal. When people carry your lessons into their own leadership, you've created an echo that never fades. Every person under your guidance is a mirror, a reflection of your teaching. If your team lacks clarity, look at your communication. If they lack confidence, look at your example. Leadership starts inward. You can't build others if you secretly envy their growth. Insecurity poisons mentorship. A leader must want others to surpass them. That's how evolution works. The next generation should be stronger than the last. To build effectively, you must detach from ego. Leadership isn't about credit, it's about continuation. You're not the finish line, you're the foundation others build upon. Commanding is reactive, building is intentional. Anyone can give orders, few can create order through example. You build stability through structure, not shouting. A leader who builds others always remembers. People don't remember what you told them, they remember how you made them feel about their own potential. That's emotional architecture. You can't inspire through hypocrisy. Build the habits you want others to follow. The moment your actions contradict your message, your influence collapses. Consistency is the silent curriculum of leadership. Building people means serving without losing strength. Servant leadership isn't weakness, it's wisdom. The more you elevate others, the lighter your own load becomes. A great leader's presence gives direction, their absence tests discipline. If your team can thrive without you, you've succeeded. Leadership isn't about being needed, it's about making others capable. And when you finally build others strong enough to lead, that's when you graduate from leadership to legacy. Because the true mark of greatness isn't how many people served you, it's how many people you served into strength. A leader who truly builds others understands that growth cannot be forced, it must be guided. Commanding generates compliance, building generates conviction. When you give someone belief, you awaken something that no paycheck ever could, self-respect. And once a person believes in their own capacity, they no longer need control. They need direction. You build people by showing them the mirror, not the map. The mirror reveals their potential. The map outlines their path. But you can't hand them both at once. You must let them wrestle with confusion until they crave clarity. That hunger is what transforms information into ownership. Every person you guide is carrying a quiet war inside them. Your job isn't to fight it for them, it's to arm them with discipline, vision, and strategy. Empowerment isn't rescue, it's reinforcement. You're not saving them, you're teaching them to save themselves. Leadership requires emotional stamina. You can't pour into people if you haven't mastered your own storms. The undisciplined leader infects the team with volatility. The calm one transmits confidence. People mirror your nervous system. If you're steady, they'll be strategic. You don't build followers with speeches. You build them with standards. Standards set the tone of culture. The moment you lower them to keep peace, you trade progress for popularity. A true leader would rather lose approval than lose direction. The poor leader demands perfection. The great leader demands consistency. Perfection kills momentum because it's unattainable. Consistency compounds results because it's controllable. When your people see that, they stop chasing flawless and start chasing better. Every team becomes a reflection of what it celebrates. If you reward effort, you build endurance. If you only reward outcomes, you build fear. The best leaders celebrate progress in silence and correct failure with calm precision. You build people by creating ownership loops. Give them control over results, not just tasks. When someone feels responsible for an outcome, they start thinking like a leader. Delegation without ownership is dependency disguised as teamwork. The more you build people, the less you'll need to motivate them. Self-driven teams are born from systems that make excellence habitual. Commanding burns energy. Culture compounds it. True leadership is invisible architecture. It's the unseen scaffolding that supports everyone else's climb. When you're doing it right, they'll think they built it themselves. And that's exactly how it should be. Building others means teaching them how to think, not what to think. The worker trains obedience. The leader trains perspective. Once people learn to reason through principle, they stop needing supervision. That's when a team becomes self-sustaining. You don't gain authority through intimidation, you gain it through demonstration. People follow the calmest energy in the room. When everyone's panicking and you're grounded, they instinctively trust your command. Leadership is emotional gravity. A leader must protect the ecosystem of growth. Toxic energy, gossip and ego drain performance faster than poor strategy. Building people includes pruning people. Sometimes the soil needs cleansing for roots to grow deeper. Never confuse kindness with softness. Building others requires both compassion and correction. Empathy shows you care. Accountability shows you mean it. Real growth demands both the hand that guides and the standard that disciplines. Leaders who build others operate from principle, not popularity. They don't avoid hard conversations, they deliver them with grace. Protecting someone's comfort at the cost of their potential is betrayal disguised as kindness. When people know your feedback is pure, never emotional, always purposeful, they'll crave it instead of fearing it. You become a mirror they trust, not a critic they avoid. That's the mark of mature mentorship. Building others is an act of patience. Progress moves slower than your expectations, but every small behavioral shift is a sign of construction. Don't quit the process just because you can't yet see the skyline. The leader must master the art of invisible wins. Most of your victories will never be seen. They'll live quietly inside the people you helped evolve. You'll hear your principles echo through their decisions long after you've moved on. That's the reward. Every person you build adds a layer to your legacy. You're not creating copies of yourself, you're creating continuations. Legacy isn't replication, it's expansion. And when your team starts teaching what you taught them, your influence has reached critical mass. That's when leadership becomes culture, when your presence multiplies even in your absence. Building others also means letting them fail safely. Failure is a forge, not a flaw. Commanders punish mistakes. Builders design recoveries. The goal isn't perfection, it's resilience. The poor leader yells when things go wrong. The great leader asks, "What did we learn?" Blame freezes minds. Reflection frees them. Every mistake hides data. Extract it. Your goal as a leader is to make others more independent than you are comfortable with. Dependency feels flattering, but it limits growth. Teach them to outgrow you. That's evolution in action. When people feel trusted, they perform higher. Trust communicates belief louder than motivation ever could. Micromanagement is emotional suffocation. Remove the leash and you'll discover who's built for freedom. Leadership isn't about being needed. It's about being known for raising people who no longer need you. The more unnecessary you become, the more successful you are. You don't build confidence by protecting people from failure. You build it by guiding them through it. Let them make decisions. Let them feel consequences. That's how wisdom takes root. The best leaders teach by embodiment. People learn more from how you react than what you preach. Every small act of patience, every consistent routine, it becomes the unspoken curriculum. Building people also means building systems. You can't scale humans without structure. Create clarity, define outcomes, remove confusion, and watch how confidence replaces chaos. Leaders who invest in people always outlast those who manipulate them. Fear expires, respect compounds. When you develop loyalty through growth, you never have to demand it. And the truest test of leadership comes when you're gone. If the culture stands without you, if the people still grow, you've done your job. Leadership isn't about presence, it's about permanence. To build effectively, detach from praise. Gratitude is nice, but it can't be your motive. You don't plant seeds expecting applause. You plant them because that's what builders do. Every strong leader eventually becomes misunderstood. The builder's path is lonely because vision is invisible until it's visible. Keep laying bricks. Understanding always comes later. You build faster when you focus on progress, not perfection. Each person will grow at their own speed. Your role isn't to rush them. It's to remove friction. Building people requires resilience against disappointment. Some will leave, some will fail, some will betray. But you don't stop building. You just refine your selection and continue. You're not just shaping performance, you're shaping psychology. People don't become strong because of your words. They become strong because of your expectations. Standards transform self-image. The more you build others, the more patient you become with yourself. You realize that growth is universal. Everyone is fighting unseen wars. Compassion makes leadership sustainable. Leaders who build others don't need credit because results speak louder. When your name becomes synonymous with transformation, you'll never need to introduce yourself again. The worker wants to be praised. The builder wants to be useful. One seeks recognition, the other seeks relevance. Impact outlives applause. People don't remember how you managed them. They remember how you believed in them when no one else did. That belief becomes their permanent foundation. And one day, you'll look back and realize the truth. You weren't building people to make them follow you. You were building them to make sure they never needed to. That's leadership refined into legacy. Chapter 8. Lead your life like a mission, not a job. Most people live like employees of their own existence, clocking in and out of effort, depending on how they feel. But the ones who rise, the ones who truly lead, treat life as a mission. A mission doesn't ask if you're tired. It doesn't wait for motivation. It demands purpose, constant, unshakable, relentless purpose. When you treat life like a job, you chase weekends and comfort. When you treat it like a mission, you chase meaning and legacy. The worker's goal is to finish the day. The leader's goal is to fulfill destiny. That's the difference between existence and evolution. Every mission begins with obsession, not the kind that burns you out, but the kind that wakes you up. The mission-driven don't need alarms. They're pulled by vision. Their lives are built on structure, strategy, and surrender to purpose. A job ends when you leave the office. A mission follows you everywhere. It shapes how you eat, how you think, how you treat people, how you spend your silence. You're not just working, you're building alignment between who you are and what you're becoming. The worker asks, "How much am I getting paid?" The leader asks, how much am I becoming? When life becomes a mission, reward shifts from money to mastery. Every effort becomes investment, not expense. Purpose converts exhaustion into endurance. When you know why you're doing something, the pain stops feeling like punishment. It starts feeling like proof. The worker dreads pressure. The leader absorbs it, knowing it's shaping precision. You can't live on mission without clarity. Clarity is the compass, purpose is the engine. Without direction, effort becomes noise. Every move must align with the bigger picture, or it dilutes the mission. The mission-minded don't multitask, they prioritize. They know that focus is their greatest weapon. Every distraction is a leak, every compromise a delay. Their time is sacred because their purpose is serious. Living on mission means rejecting mediocrity at a cellular level. You stop negotiating with laziness, emotion, and excuses. You don't wait for permission, you operate on conviction. Every day you're either expanding or eroding your mission. There's no neutral. The worker waits for conditions. The leader creates momentum. Time rewards the one who moves with direction, not the one who moves with comfort. You can't lead your life like a mission if you keep thinking like an employee. The worker looks for stability. The leader builds systems that generate it. Freedom isn't granted, it's engineered. A mission requires identity. You must decide who you are before you can decide where you're going. Confused leaders create chaotic missions. Clarity about self breeds clarity about strategy. Purpose doesn't tolerate distraction. It demands discipline. Every small decision, what you consume, where you go, who you talk to, either fuels your mission or fractures it. Awareness is leadership. When life is a mission, consistency becomes your religion. The worker performs when watched. The leader performs regardless. External accountability fades when internal accountability takes over. The mission-minded are immune to boredom. They've learned that repetition is the rhythm of greatness. They execute the unexciting with excellence. Every habit becomes sacred because it serves the higher cause. The worker dreams of escape. The leader dreams of expansion. A mission isn't something you finish, it's something you evolve within. You don't retire from purpose, you refine it until your last breath. To live mission first, you must detach from applause. Validation is a cheap drug. It tricks you into mistaking recognition for fulfillment. A mission doesn't need witnesses, it needs warriors. Your mission will outlast your motivation. Some days you'll move through exhaustion, doubt, and silence. But that's the beauty. Mission replaces mood with meaning. You don't feel like it, you become it. The worker prays for breaks. The leader prays for breakthroughs. Pressure doesn't scare them. It signals proximity to evolution. They don't count the cost of the climb. They calculate the value of the view. Living like a mission means living like time is running out, because it is. Every wasted day is a debt your future self must pay. The leader understands urgency not as panic, but as precision. A mission-driven life requires sacrifice. You can't chase every pleasure and expect depth. You must give up comfort for conviction. Every no to distraction is a yes to destiny. The worker protects routine, the leader protects vision. One repeats cycles, the other breaks them. Every habit you tolerate becomes a brick in your identity. Choose wisely what you build. You can't delegate your purpose. No mentor, system, or environment can replace your personal accountability. Ownership is the entry fee of mastery. Mission requires solitude. Noise kills awareness. The leader spends more time in reflection than reaction. Silence isn't inactivity, it's calibration. That's where strategy sharpens. The worker avoids pain, the leader analyzes it. Pain reveals weak spots, exposes limits, and refines perspective. The mission-minded use pain like a compass. It points to where growth hides. Purpose converts repetition into revelation. The same actions that bore others bring enlightenment to those who see meaning in mastery. That's why the committed look calm, while the restless look chaotic. The worker obeys instructions. The leader interprets intention. They don't just follow, they forecast. Mission thinkers don't wait for direction. They anticipate demand. You can't lead your life like a mission if you're enslaved to emotion. Emotion distracts, strategy decides. The leader uses feelings as feedback, never as fuel. The poor chase opportunities. The rich align with purpose. A mission doesn't follow trends, it creates them. Once you know your why, you stop chasing every what. Every great leader you admire lived on mission. They weren't chasing comfort, they were building contribution. Comfort ends with you. Mission echoes beyond you. You'll know your life has become a mission when small talk feels pointless and mediocrity feels painful. Your energy becomes too expensive for meaningless activity. You start guarding your mind like a fortress. The worker seeks weekends, the leader seeks momentum. They don't count hours, they count outcomes. When your life has a purpose, time stops being something you manage. It becomes something you maximize. Living on mission means finding peace in progress, not perfection. You'll never feel finished, and that's okay. The goal isn't completion, it's continuation. Every day is another chapter of construction. Mission-driven people don't chase balance, they chase alignment. Balance divides energy, alignment directs it. When your mission integrates work, growth, rest, and purpose, your life becomes harmony in motion. You can't fake mission energy. People can feel when you're driven by purpose versus pressure. One burns out, the other burns brighter. Purpose sustains effort when everything else fades. To live on mission redefines success. It's not wealth or praise. It's alignment between potential and practice. Success is knowing you left nothing undone that could have been mastered. A mission mindset transforms how you handle failure. You stop seeing it as loss and start seeing it as logistics. Failure becomes data, feedback from the battlefield. The worker waits for orders. The leader sets standards. They treat every detail like a reflection of identity. Excellence stops being an option. It becomes a default. Every mission has casualties, comfort, complacency, approval. But what you gain is immeasurable: power, peace, and purpose. Leaders don't fear sacrifice. They calculate its return. The mission-driven don't retire. They reinvent. When one chapter closes, they evolve into a new form of impact. Purpose doesn't end. It expands. To lead your life like a mission is to live with intensity, but act with intelligence. You move fast, but never rush. You act boldly, but always with reason. The leader lives in paradox, fierce yet focused, urgent yet unshaken. You'll lose people when you live this way. Not everyone can handle someone on assignment. The worker sees your obsession as arrogance. The lazy see your focus as isolation. That's fine. The mission doesn't need approval. Mission makes you magnetic. People feel the gravity of someone who's living with direction. You attract other disciplined minds, and together you build worlds. The poor treat purpose like a phase. The rich treat it like a framework. One burns bright for weeks, the other burns steady for decades. Longevity beats excitement. A mission removes confusion. You stop wondering what's next because everything you do builds the same vision. Simplicity becomes strength. When your life becomes a mission, rest stops feeling like escape. It becomes part of the plan. The leader knows recovery is responsibility. You can't serve the mission if you're broken. Every morning becomes a recommitment ceremony. You wake up, remember the why, and rebuild momentum. The worker waits for inspiration. The leader renews intention. You'll outgrow shortcuts. You'll lose interest in empty achievements. Mission gives you a standard that can't be lowered. The price of greatness becomes your peace, and you'll pay it gladly. The mission-driven don't chase titles. Their fulfillment is internal. They don't need a role to lead. They lead through alignment, discipline, and devotion. And when it's all said and done, when you look back at a life lived on mission, you'll realize something profound. It was never about reaching the top. It was about becoming the kind of person who never stopped climbing. A mission demands mastery of time, but more than that, mastery of energy. Time management is surface level, energy management is spiritual. The worker asks, "Do I have enough time?" The leader asks, "Do I have enough focus?" Time is useless without attention. Energy is the true currency of purpose. Living on mission means operating from standards, not moods. The worker wakes up and checks how they feel. The leader wakes up and checks what must be done. Feelings fluctuate, missions don't. That's why disciplined minds always outperform emotional ones. Every mission needs a system. You can't depend on motivation to sustain progress. Systems are the architecture of purpose, the invisible framework that keeps you aligned when willpower fades. Leaders build structures to protect direction. The poor chase intensity, the rich chase consistency. Intensity makes noise, consistency makes empires. The worker burns bright and fades, the leader burns slow and transforms. Greatness is the byproduct of long obedience under quiet discipline. Mission isn't glamorous, it's gritty. It's early mornings, lonely nights, and invisible effort. But that's where identity hardens. The mission-minded understand that the reward isn't recognition, it's refinement. When your life is a mission, everything becomes part of the process. Every setback becomes a lesson, every victory a checkpoint. You stop labeling things as good or bad, you only see useful and useless. That's strategic living. The worker prays for success, the leader prepares for it. You can't attract what you're not aligned with. Preparation is silent proof of seriousness. The mission doesn't reward talkers, it rewards tacticians. To live on mission, you must think in seasons, not seconds. The worker quits when results delay. The leader studies timing. Patience isn't weakness, it's weaponry. You don't rush what's compounding, you nurture it. The poor view purpose as a dream. The rich view it as duty. Dreams motivate, duty disciplines. The mission-driven don't need reminders. They need results. They treat progress as moral obligation. A job gives you direction from others. A mission gives you direction from within. That's why it's heavier. When no one tells you what to do, the weight of self-leadership begins. Most people can't carry it, but those who do become unstoppable. The worker runs from discomfort. The leader studies it. Discomfort is data. It shows you where strength must grow. Every emotion, every resistance, every hesitation is a doorway to mastery. Leaders don't escape the pressure. They extract wisdom from it. You'll outgrow people the moment your life becomes a mission. The ones who loved your old self will resist your evolution. Don't explain, execute. The mission doesn't need justification, it needs completion. To lead your life like a mission means redefining fun. The worker seeks entertainment, the leader seeks engagement. The thrill of progress replaces the thrill of distraction. The new pleasure is purpose. The mission-minded build for impact, not image. The poor chase aesthetics, the rich chase alignment. You can't polish purpose, you must practice it. Every day you execute, your life becomes a masterpiece in motion. When you live on mission, simplicity becomes luxury. You'll crave less attention, less noise, less chaos. Stillness becomes your success symbol. You'll realize the most powerful people move the least, because everything they do moves meaning. The worker manages tasks, the leader manages transformation. To live as a mission means turning every day into a strategic upgrade. You don't get through the day, you extract from it. Purpose demands isolation before elevation. Every mission begins in obscurity. The dark seasons aren't punishment, they're preparation. The silence that others fear becomes your sanctuary for development. To stay mission-focused, kill the addiction to instant proof. The poor need visible progress to stay motivated. The rich find power in unseen progress. Real transformation happens in private before it's witnessed in public. Living like a mission means learning emotional neutrality. You can't be addicted to praise or paralyzed by criticism. The leader uses both as mirrors, not masters. Emotion becomes data, not direction. When your life becomes mission-centered, laziness feels like betrayal. You'll realize discipline isn't suffering, it's alignment. Every act of focus is a prayer. Every repetition is reverence. Purpose turns productivity into devotion. To live like your life is a mission, you must break the illusion of comfort. Every convenience you cling to delays your calling. The leader doesn't seek ease, they seek evolution. Growth has always been the enemy of comfort. The worker clock watches, the leader impact watches. They measure progress by change, not by hours. One counts time spent, the other counts transformation achieved. Purpose makes you precise. It eliminates waste in thought, word, and motion. Every no you say becomes a boundary that protects your higher yes. Focus becomes sacred. Distraction becomes profanity. The mission demands relentless refinement. You can't become excellent accidentally. Self-auditing becomes survival. The leader doesn't wait for feedback. They self-diagnose daily. Awareness is their weapon. Every day becomes a drill. Routine becomes sacred because it represents repetition toward refinement. While the world chases novelty, the mission-minded chase mastery. The poor chase passion, the rich chase precision. Passion burns quickly, precision burns forever. Mission-minded living is disciplined emotion, fire controlled by focus. Purpose creates hierarchy within your priorities. Everything serves the top, your mission. You don't chase balance, you enforce order. Every area of your life becomes a soldier in service to vision. To live like a mission, you must redefine freedom. It's not doing whatever you want, it's being able to do what's required. Freedom without discipline is self-destruction in disguise. Mission replaces identity confusion with conviction. You stop trying to find yourself. You start forging yourself. The leader doesn't discover purpose. They define it daily. And once you commit fully, your energy changes. You move differently. You speak less, but everything you say carries weight. People can feel the mission before they understand it. Every great mission demands sacrifice. You'll lose comfort, convenience, and sometimes companionship. But in return, you'll gain clarity, conviction, and control. Purpose requires pruning. When you live this way, mediocrity becomes offensive. You can't stand small thinking or lazy execution. You start guarding your circle like a sacred space. Energy mismatches become intolerable. The worker asks for opportunity, the leader creates it. Mission-minded people stop waiting for permission from the world. They give themselves authority through action. Mission means longevity. It's the ability to keep moving when others stop. The poor chase momentum, the rich build mechanisms. Systems keep your purpose alive when motivation dies. When you live on mission, faith replaces fear. You stop doubting the outcome because you trust the process. The worker looks for signs. The leader becomes one. The mission doesn't reward speed, it rewards endurance. The race isn't to the fastest, but to the most focused. Longevity beats intensity every time. Purpose transforms your relationship with failure. It no longer feels like loss. It feels like leveling. Every mistake becomes momentum if you learn from it. Mission makes you magnetic to excellence. You start attracting disciplined minds, structured thinkers, and high performers. The universe rearranges around your frequency. The worker performs to impress. The leader performs to progress. Their mission is internal. Every day they're competing with the older version of themselves. That's infinite motivation. And eventually your mission stops being something you pursue. It becomes who you are. Every breath, every word, every action becomes a statement of alignment. That's when you stop living for success and start living for significance. Leadership isn't a title you earn. It's a mindset you grow into. It begins quietly, the moment you stop waiting for someone to save you and start guiding yourself. That's where true power lives, in your decisions, your discipline, your direction. You don't need a company to lead. You don't need a following to inspire. You only need the courage to think differently, to rise above the noise, act with clarity, and trust your vision even when no one else does. Workers survive by routine. Leaders evolve through purpose. Every day you choose which one you'll be. So stop waiting for the world to recognize your potential. Build it, show it, and lead it. Because the world doesn't follow the loud, it follows the aligned. And once you start thinking like a leader, you'll never live like a worker again.